Do do do, theme song. Do do do, I'm broke so this is my theme song. Do do do, just imagine this is an awesome theme song. Do do, theme song. Hello, welcome to Left of the Box. Bonjour, bienvenue. I'm Sandy. Don't worry, this video is not about the Young Turks, I promise, okay? I do start by talking about TYT, but I'm using it to draw attention to a larger issue, which is the need to understand the limitations of allies. Recently, I posted a couple videos about TYT. The 30-second synopsis is, Anna, producer and a host of the main show, posted anti-trans tweets. Her grievance? Language that includes all people who can give birth of what she doesn't approve. Her approval is not required. Terms like birthing people is not about her, and for some reason, this needs to be stated every time. No one is saying Anna can't identify as a woman. Then Jank, TYT's CEO and a host of the main show, also got into it, defending Anna's right to use TERF tropes. This happened a bunch of times. People on the left, including myself, pushed back on them to try to explain why the addition of these terms is good and supportive of trans folks and NBs like me. Jank then went on a tirade claiming we were calling him names, which we weren't. Well, at least not at first. I did end up referring to him as an asshole after he started acting like an asshole by insulting random people on Twitter, lying about what leftists were saying, accusing us of trying to silence him, and so on. It's all in my videos. Please go check them out. They're on the longer side. That's because I talk about a lot more than just the tweets. But basically, Jank was accusing us of ripping apart the left because of his refusal to use gender-inclusive terms. Despite this, I believe TYT does way more good than bad, and they're on the left side with most issues. Well, apparently, Jank is still a little sensitive about the whole situation.
Love this right-wing food fight. So, hey, look, it's not just the left that rips each other apart. Okay, great. I'm happy to see the right wing doing it. Right, okay. Then you're forced to respond. You know how that works, right? Like people attack us all the time and then you're forced to respond. Then when you respond, people are like, how dare you respond? You're like, what am I supposed to do, right? If you're on the right-wing side, they're legendarily vipers. They will betray you for the slightest profit, and it doesn't go against their principles. When the left tears each other down, it goes against their stated principles of working together, helping someone they don't know, et cetera, and it's more hypocritical.
That was from one segment. I want to support TYT, I really do, but these constant passive-aggressive digs at people further left than him pushes people like me away. Which is ironic because in that segment, he talked about how hypocritical it was for leftists to tear each other down. In that same segment, he and Anna also criticized Candace Owens' inability to take criticism. Self-awareness, not a strong suit of his. So much animosity over what? The bare minimum of what it takes to be an ally? Since I am principled and I do believe we should work together, I'll make the same offer I did in my other video. I'm more than happy to sit down and have a conversation about this with anyone at TYT, on or off camera, and take as long as is needed to talk this out. Inclusive language shouldn't be the reason for not working together. Meanwhile, over at the Majority Report...
Skippy McGee, I've occasionally heard you use the term biological male, female. Please consider replacing this with the AMAB, AFAB, assigned male, female at birth. It's more accurate because trans people typically alter their biology with HRT, and it avoids subtly misgendering people. Thanks for your consideration, steadfast trans allyship. I think it's easier just to say assigned male or female at birth, but to be honest with you, because AMAB and AFAB, I just don't know if enough people would know what.
Yeah, I'd never heard those shortened like that, but assigned female at birth.
I'm open to it. Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's it. How hard was that? This acceptance of a new term may seem like a small gesture, but to someone like me, it communicates these are people who will support me, who accept and respect me. They are people I can rely on to be allies. So for those of you who don't know, AFAB and AMAB means assigned female or male at birth. These terms have probably been around for ages, but have recently started to pick up wider use. Even to me, this is a newer term. But once I heard it, I had no problems adapting to it because it makes sense and is simple. The term biological female or biological male is offensive to trans folks. Just think about it a moment. If you call a trans man biologically female, you are saying he is female. TERFs, transphobes, and gender criticals use biological female as a way of saying that since some people were born female, they're a real woman, whereas trans women will never be anything more than a man pretending to be a woman because they're biologically male. It's not complicated. Trans women are women. Trans men are men. Gender and biology have nothing to do with each other. Biologically, a person has the ability to get pregnant, to impregnate, and in some cases, neither. Biology naturally changes over a person's life, and with the use of HRT, a person's biology changes to be more in line with what's typical for their gender. Tying biology to gender means lots of medical issues are overlooked. People, doctors, make assumptions based on perceived gender, so they dismiss concerns if they feel like it's not normal for that gender. An example of this: girls are less likely to be diagnosed with autism because that's just the way girls are. Whereas if boys act differently, well, there must be a reason. Or if a person has a functional uterus and ovaries, they can get pregnant. No matter their gender, and their health concerns around it need to be taken seriously. When you say a person was assigned a gender at birth, it means that when they were born, they were assigned a gender based on their sex organs. But that's a placeholder until a person expresses which gender they are. Over 99%, but less than 100% of the time, the person is the gender they were assigned. AFAB is helpful for me because it helps people understand my concerns around reproductive issues and gives people an idea of the social standards that were pushed on me and how society viewed me as an individual when I was growing up. I was, you see there, that's past tense, assigned female at birth. I am non-binary. I hope for the day when people aren't assigned a gender at birth. Doctors can note which sex organs a person has for medical purposes, but let the child grow and express their gender the way they want without pressure to conform to social constructs. So, that's my thoughts on that, but there's more to this story than TYT versus MR on how to be a good ally. I also want to touch on the expectations and pressures put on allies. I don't know for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me that as Cenk and Anna push away people further left than them, that there be a correlating increase of subscribers to the Majority Report. I mean, it makes sense. As far as I know, the Majority Report is the second largest well-known and daily lefty news program out there. And the MR crew regularly demonstrates more progressive values that align with the people turned off of TYT by Cenk and Anna's transphobic comments and rants about housing, unhoused folks, policing, the justice system, and the capitalist principles of TYT. So this could be seen as a boon for Sam, owner and host of MR. But for him and how he runs MR, is it? Yes and no, and that has a lot to do with the TYT expats. As more people move from TYT to MR, there'll be more pressure on Sam to cover stories the same way TYT does. There'll be more pressure on Sam to bring attention to issues that need wider reporting. There'll be more pressure on Sam to be the strong, outspoken ally for every leftist cause. He can't. For all of us content consumers, we need to be aware of the limitations of the creators we consume. I often talk about this dynamic in the context of mental health. I've had to learn to accept that no one person can provide me with everything I need. Family, friend, professional, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean they don't want to help me. It's that they can't provide the emotional, financial, mental health support resources they don't have. If they try to give more than what they're capable of, they burn out, leaving both of us worse off than where we started. On the flip side, please don't tell someone who's struggling that you'll do anything for them. Often you have no idea what you're getting into. If a person is desperate, they may be unaware of how much they're asking because they're focused on surviving. Then when you hit your limits and for your own mental health have to tell them no or cut them off, the person will feel abandoned, rejected, or that they're beyond help and will never get healthy. Instead, tell the person what you can provide. A coffee out once a week, help with chores, drive them to appointments, what times are best to call, and so on. State your boundaries and limitations. The downside is, a person like me needs multiple resources, which can be hard to find, and there are times I don't have the support I need. The upside is the people in my life stay there longer and have the energy to help me in their own way while staying healthy themselves. So when I need the kind of support they can provide, they're able to give it 100%. I still struggle with this. I sometimes feel like I'm asking too much of a single person and I'm worried I'll end up losing that friendship. But at the same time, I'm trying to stay afloat and I don't know what else I can do until I'm able to find my footing. This is why when I say every little bit helps, I mean it. Every kind gesture, supportive conversation, help with items from my recording studio and art lessens the load of what I need from the people closest to me. It should be no one person's responsibility to provide everything another person needs. If you rely on one person for what you need, if something happens to that person, you're lost. The government should be providing us with the basics to survive and thrive, so we don't have to rely on each other, often people who are struggling themselves, to provide life supports for others. Our relationships with each other would greatly improve if the strain was lifted and we'd have a better chance of living productive, happy lives. So, to tie all of this back into TYT and MR, if people rely on TYT to be the one-stop progressive spot, when the people at the top of the network change or turn their backs on some people, those people are left floundering, struggling to find another supportive news and information network to fill the void. I'm not sure Sam realizes what's coming his way if TYT stays on this path. MR has a handful of people working there. They don't have the massive production teams, editors, contributors, networks, and resources TYT has. They can't fill the void TYT is creating. They shouldn't have to. And if they were to try, they'd lose a lot of what makes them, them. This dynamic was put on display a little while ago during a contentious conversation between Sam and a caller into the program. I've linked to the video below so you can check it out. I got an unexpected name drop during it.
Her birthing person inclusive language shit goes back to February of 2022 when Sandy Lovis went on TYT and explained it to them. So when this whole grift happened, it was like Sandy is a MR contributor.
I mean, I'm not, but, I have to admit, Sandy Lovis, MR contributor, has a nice ring to it. It's definitely something I could get behind. I was feeling both sides of this conversation. Sam was clearly perturbed by the caller saying he should be paying more attention to Anna's transphobic tweets. Outside of a conversation I had with Sam for my channel, meeting him in Boston for 2 minutes, calling into the show on occasion and watching him on the show, I haven't had any interactions with him. So I can't say I know him or know what he's like in person. All I know is that if I was in his shoes, I'd be like, dude, seriously? I was on vacation when all of this went down. I wasn't exactly glued to Twitter while I was away. I have 100 DMs I haven't read from people I know. Never mind reading every tweet that tags me from random people I don't know. I don't have the time to keep tabs on other commentators. I don't have the time to know everything about every subject. If I have free time to watch a program, I'm not going to use it to watch a political show. I'll use that time to finish watching Andor because that show is amazing. There are so many important things that need to be covered and I'm already pulled too thin in every direction. I have a life. Well, not so much a life, kids. And I want to be a part of their life before they grow up and move away. And I don't know you. How am I to know if you have a serious critique or if you're trying to stir up drama between leftists of which I have zero interest of being a part of? So as soon as you mention Anna's tweets, I'm done with you because Twitter is a hostile fart sauna designed for maximum engagement by getting people mad at each other. It's not built for constructive conversations. Like, come on, dude. Calling into my show to tell me how to cover stories I know almost nothing about and demand I dig into them because you say so is absurd. I understand the situation for trans folks is dire, and it pains me I can't do more. It pains me that it feels like no matter how much good I do, it will never be enough. I know this needs more attention, but I don't have the mental resources to take it on. So yeah, this is pissing me off because this is time I could have been spending talking about the other 10 stories I was hoping to get to today. I'm frustrated, so I'll be short with you and cut you off. Look, I want to do more to help, but I can't. I'm doing the best I can to bring attention to as many causes as possible. If that's not good enough for you, don't watch. Oh, yeah. I also don't know who the caller is. He replied to me on Twitter after I posted about my name drop and mentioned I was about to release a video detailing exactly what he was wanting. He said he felt bad about the call because he was super nervous and didn't do a good job communicating what he was trying to say, which I totally understand. Oh, I'll let you all in on a little something. I despise calling into the majority report. I have to drug myself before I call in. My anxiety goes out of control. It's an autistic thing for me. Talking on the phone to four strangers, never knowing when I should be talking, is nightmare stuff. I can't watch the screen as I'm talking because there's a 20-second delay, and waiting 20 seconds to see if a joke lands would slow the call down. So I never know when I should talk. I have no idea how they're reacting to what I'm saying. I realize too late that thing I just said won't necessarily be understood as sarcastic because most of my sarcasm is expressed through my facial expressions, and they aren't seeing this. I do much better talking over video and much, much better if I've had a chance to talk in a no-pressure casual setting beforehand. And for like a week after I call in, every time Sam says, "Let's go to the phones," I get a gut punch of anxiety. Anyway, about the caller, again, I don't know him, but I could understand where he was coming from. Maybe he's part of the LGBTQ+ community or is close to people who are. The situation in some areas of the States is dire. The genocide of trans folks has started. Then TYT, who claims to be an ally, not only aren't giving queer stories the attention they need, they're spewing transphobic rhetoric. TYT is a behemoth in leftist media. No one can hold them accountable when they have takes that actively harm vulnerable groups of people. The only ones who stand a chance of putting pressure on them is the second largest platform with the second largest reach. If MR can bring attention to what's going on, then maybe enough people will wake up to what's happening and do something about it, even if it's canceling their membership as a way of protest. Like, what else can a person do? Mainstream media isn't covering what's happening to queer folks. The Democrats are doing nothing to push back against the genocidal policies the Republicans are implementing. People all over social media feel comfortable enough to say they want trans folks dead. And the people in the areas hit hardest by Republican propaganda and laws either are themselves or know people, friends, loved ones whose lives are in real, tangible danger. It's like screaming into a void to try to warn people about the catastrophe that's happening, and all you hear back is your echo. The desperation for people to take this threat seriously would be overwhelming and lead a person to say things they don't mean, have troubles communicating what's at stake, or explaining what they want from others. And that frustration can come across as making demands, indignation, and anger because you just want the person to shut up and listen to what you're saying. It's not simply about Anna's tweets. It's about her betrayal in giving right-wing talking points a boost. So, what this demonstrated is the importance of having patience, especially if the political environment continues to fall apart. If you don't feel like you're getting your point across, stop and take a breath. People who cover the news can't be expected to know what everyone else who covers the news is up to. Most content creators don't have the time to watch other programs, and some don't want to because they don't want their takes influenced by other commentators. To demand more from a creator than they can provide can drain them of energy and shut them down. Conversations like the one that just happened end up going nowhere, and if it gets bad enough, the creator might throw their hands up and say they've had it. When that happens, we all lose. Their unique voice, their perspective, their ability to resonate with different people will be gone from the leftist community. We need more voices speaking out, not less. I know this creator-consumer dynamic exists with other lefty content creators. David Dole of The Rational National has posted and commented several times about people demanding he covers specific topics. Often, they want him to cover more Canadian stories and figure he should since he's Canadian. To which I have to say, Hey! I primarily cover Canadian stories and politics. Once I'm not struggling to stay afloat, I'm hoping to make so much Canadian content that people will have a Plavonian urge to drink maple syrup every time they hear my theme song. This is something I'm passionate about and want to do, which is necessary to cover this topic. Canadian politics? Not exactly clickbait. Which is why I try to draw people in with my humor and unique style. How can content creators and content consumers work together? I happen to be both, so I have some thoughts. Constructive criticism from a place of wanting creators to be better is good. Criticizing simply because you don't like something without suggestions on how to improve, not helpful. I actually agreed with one of the criticisms the caller was trying to, but failing, to communicate to Sam. MR is one of the better shows when it comes to covering LGBTQ+ issues. They do a fantastic job adapting and empathizing, as was shown in the clip earlier. And when someone who wants to talk about the issues gets through on the phone, they have the platform. However, allowing random people to talk about it if they're lucky enough to get through on the phone lines isn't the same thing as proactively bringing on someone who is familiar with the subject to talk about it. I have suggestions on who they can try to bring on, and I'm more than happy to contribute to the conversation. See what I did there? Me? Contribute to MR? But on the flip side, while it would be nice if they did this, it's not their responsibility. Sam, Emma, Matt, the other guy whose name begins with B that I can never remember because it's too similar to the last guy, and dyslexia, are going to cover topics they're passionate about and comfortable talking off the cuff with. They have a limited time to bring guests on, so they have to be choosy and will pick people who appeal to their interests the most. This benefits everyone. They can bring in their experiences, personalize it, they're being authentic with their takes, and it's far more enjoyable to watch people talk about the things they're passionate and informed about. Think of it as quality of takes over quantity of takes. I can spend hours watching Sam talk about Social Security, taxes, and debate libertarians because I enjoy watching people talk about the things that fire them up. Which means I know far more about libertarians than I care to, but it's been effective. I've learned about something I wouldn't have otherwise because of Sam. So, thanks, I think. But as far as I know, no one on MR is queer, so they can't fully understand what it's like, and I don't want them talking on behalf of people like me, non-binary, pansexual, polyamorous, Canadian. If it's not something they're comfortable talking about, why pressure them to do so? Just like on my channel, I don't do deep dives into issues like racism. I've touched on the subject in my videos and I bring attention to it when I can, but I'm about as pale as you can get while still looking healthy. I'll never know what it's like to be Black, Indigenous, or a person of color, and no matter how much I try to understand, no matter how aware of how my privilege benefits me, my privilege prevents me from seeing all the racist systemic issues that are obvious to the people who live it. The last thing that's needed is another white person giving their opinion about how racism affects the people it's targeted towards and telling them how they should deal with it. Or to offer solutions that don't come close to solving the problems because we aren't including the aspects of which we're oblivious to. I'd much rather support and promote people who live it. Dan from the internet, Jeff Wiggins, Ole, Lance from the Serfs are fantastic people to watch to get that first-hand perspective and analysis of racism. Links to their channels are in the description box below. But don't feel like you have to stick to YouTube to find these perspectives. Amazing people can be found on other platforms. Even on the hostile fart sauna, people like Agent NDN, Joy Henderson, and the lefty Canadian radical speak their truth despite the increasing hate being directed at them. If you're still on there, be sure to follow them and send them some love. I'm also looking to bring people onto my show to talk about different issues because I feel it's important to include the people the issues directly affect when talking about them. Creators need to cover issues they're passionate about because covering the horror of the news day after day without that will cause people to burn out. And like those rants that I did earlier between Sam and the caller, it's not like they were needed in the script, but I added them because I enjoy performing. I had fun playing those characters, which makes doing this, all of this, a lot easier for me. Don't demand channels offer something they can't. Instead, find channels that offer what you're looking for. I guarantee you, whatever it is you want, there's someone on social media talking about it. When it comes to covering the news from the perspective of someone with lived experience of poverty, disabilities, mental health issues, queer, Canadian, I've got you. I'm equipped to talk about these because I live them and understand them in a way people who don't can't. Perspectives like mine are sorely underrepresented in political spaces, and there's no shortage of stories for me to talk about. So why demand or expect me to bring a perspective outside of my comfort zone? If you want to suggest a story to me that's down my alley, sure. But be sensitive that due to my mental health, I'm currently struggling to cover all that I want. But if you want me to cover a story about American taxation, no. Go watch Sam. Speaking of Sam and the Majority Report, go send them some love as well. Tweet, I am the show if you can, and let Sam, Emma, Matt, the other guy, know why you appreciate them. Learn who the different creators are and their styles so when someone's looking for content, you know who to recommend. Or if you're wanting a certain perspective on an issue, you know who to go to. Creators should be in on this as well. They don't have to watch other programs, but at least try to be aware of them. That way, when someone from their audience is looking for something they don't offer, they can tell them where to go for it. Cross-promotion is so important to gain traction in the algorithms. And if no one is covering exactly what you want, how you want, do it yourself. Chances are you're not the only one who wants to hear it. But if it's not something you're comfortable doing, find someone who is and encourage and support them to get started. No one channel can cover all that needs to be covered the way it should be covered. Just like there's no hero that will rise through the ranks and solve all of our problems. Don't put your hope in a single politician being able to change systems that have been around for hundreds of years and maintained by people who want to keep the status quo. Don't put all of your hopes into one channel being able to educate a population that is controlled by those same people who don't want us to learn. All of us on the left, content consumers, content creators, need to work together to promote and uplift each other. We don't make progress by waiting for someone else to do it. Lots of people have no trouble going out of their way to say what they don't like, but tend to forget to do that about the things they do like. If you're a fan of content creators, let them know why. If you see a content creator getting a barrage of negative comments, send them some love. If you know a content creator is struggling, remind them why their voice matters. Every little bit helps lessen the load of dealing with the toxic diaper sludge of politics we're exposed to on the daily. We're all just people, not superheroes, trying to make it through this chaotic world. None of us are in this alone. We're stronger as a community. And to all of you watching, know that while things may get more difficult in the immediate future, positive, progressive change is always possible. Don't forget to hit buttons and leave comments. You can find me on the hostile fart sauna called Twitter. I just got onto Blue Sky in case Twitter completely falls apart, but know this. I will stay on Twitter no matter how many farts are ripped as long as Twitter is functional. I'm also on TikTok and Instagram. If you can, please support my content by becoming a patron or purchasing something off my wish list. Every little bit helps. Links are in the description box below. You may have noticed I looked a little more alive in this video. I have a certain glow about me. A wonderful, generous person got me the box lights from my wish list. Thank you so much. I no longer have to stare directly into a ring light when looking into a camera. And now I can have consistent lighting no matter the time of day. And yeah, fuck capitalism. Salut, à la prochaine. Thank you for watching and stay tuned. I'm Sandy, wishing your tomorrow is better than your today.